Hello, everyone. My name is Jack Nanchenko. I'm a co-founder and CTO at SellerSoft. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Angus Mitchell to our podcast show, Managing Director at Go Custom, part of the Kingfisher Leisure Wear Group founded in 1996. For nearly 3 decades, Angus and his team have been helping companies create branded apparel from embroidery workwear to full print-on-demand fulfillment services for e-commerce businesses. Today, we'll talk about the challenges of running a labor-intensive business in today's economic climate, why automation is becoming essential for survival, and how print-on-demand fulfillment is reshaping the custom apparel industry. Angus, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jack. Nice to be with you.
Cool. Let's start with the business and how long it's been in the market. So you founded the business in the mid
I founded
1990s.
we founded the business, myself and my brother-in-law, in 1996, when we went into what was then a screen printing business with one embroidery machine. And we've evolved over the years, and here we are 30 years later.
Cool. What did the custom apparel industry look like back then?
We were extremely proud of ourselves that we actually had a website in 1996. It was a very simple website. Obviously, there was no e-commerce. Orders used to come in via fax if they were from modern, forward-looking customers, or if they were sent in by post. And
Oh,
obviously,
wow.
things have evolved enormously with the digital era, and particularly in the last 10 years.
Cool. And what are the biggest shifts that you've seen over nearly 3 decades in the business?
I think the biggest shift really has come in the last 10 years since e-commerce started. Obviously, the whole marketing, to have an online platform such as Go Custom has been revolutionary for us, and to
Mhm.
enable us to reach out to customers via the social networks, also obviously via Google, Bing, and all the other main advertising platforms, has just transformed the way that we can communicate with certainly the smaller customers. It was easier before to target bigger customers. You had to use things like yellow pages, or you could do a lot of uh, adverts in the written press. But that was always difficult to follow, difficult to know what was actually working, what wasn't working, and to gain any understanding of return on investment in advertising. Whereas obviously now it's much more precise.
Cool. And I mean, given that ecom is central to your company, how and when did you realize that it's going to be the case?
We were late to the game. We actually launched Go Custom in, I think it was 2016, and really we were 4 or 5 years too late, um,
Oh, wow.
and we regret that ever since. But that's the way it is. And I remember, I think within the first 2 days, we had one particular extremely famous person order just 10 polo shirts on our website, and we just thought,
Mhm.
hold on, this is unbelievable. This is, suddenly we're reaching out to these type of people where we just weren't able to even know they sort of any route to them before. And I think that's when we
Mhm.
thought, hold on, this is important.
Cool. Awesome. Good story. And in today's world, as far as I understood, and just so the listeners know, you operate in two ways. One is the direct e-com orders, and the other one is fulfillment for brands and stores, like print on demand. How would you describe the company today compared to when you started?
Yeah, I mean, I guess really where we're trying to, as a company, we've grown over 30 years. We like to say basically for one reason, and that's we aim to give a very top quality customer service. Um, I believe it's actually relatively easy to print a t-shirt or embroider a
Hmm.
t-shirt. Loads of people can do it. The entry levels into the market are extremely low. But what is complicated, it seems, is actually to do it well, to offer a good quality product, the appropriate product, that suits the customer's requirements, and to make sure that those garments are delivered to the customer as and when they're expecting them and as and when they're required. And that's what we've tried to do over the years. From day one, we focused on concentrating on customers who wanted small orders. We, at the time, you're talking 1996, the late 90s, all those big orders were being done in the Far East. And we just thought, hold on, there's no point concentrating or going after particularly large orders, thousands and thousands of T-shirts or hoods, whatever. Because one, we didn't have the infrastructure to look after them. Two, they were extremely competitively priced. And most of them were being done either in the Far East or in places such as Turkey. So we've always had it ingrained in our company ethos, if you like, to go after the smaller customer. And obviously, e-commerce has helped that in the fact that now those smaller customers can be more automized when they come through. Before, every order had to be confirmed in writing by email, writing, fax, whatever. Whereas now those customers can place an order online, and we've become much more efficient at dealing with them.
Okay, cool. And which part of the business is growing faster? Is it direct customers or fulfillment partnerships?
Anything which is online based at the moment, our online presence, which is Go Custom. It started off as Go Custom Clothing. We've now called ourselves Go Custom. Ever since we launched that platform, it gave us a platform from which we could market ourselves basically to the world. And that has grown and has grown very quickly. And fulfillment or print on demand is just one part of it. It's another service that we're offering as Go Custom. So if you come along and you might have 200 workers and you want them to be kitted out and you wanted us to roll out a workwear uniform, we're very happy to offer you that solution. We can help you embroidered or printed garment. We can offer tax tabbing. We can offer individual man packing, so each employee can receive the appropriate garments for them, perhaps with individual names on or something like that. But if you're interested and you hold on, I want to be offering something in the retail space, you might have a big brand like Caterpillar, for example, or whoever. They might say, hold on, yeah, we sell earth-moving machines, but we should be selling garments, which obviously they do. Or you have a license and you think, hold on, we could be putting that license on garments. Then we're very happy to talk to you and offer you a solution where you don't need to bring in big volume of stock. You don't need to worry about, are you going to sell a navy t-shirt or a white t-shirt? Is it going to be an extra large or a small? Just get it up on your website. If you sell any, we can look after all the fulfillment for you. We can put it out. We can print those orders or embroider those orders on the right quality and level of garments, and we can dispatch those to your customers as though they're coming from you. So we're trying to cover the whole, let's say, the whole demand for services.
Cool.
And that
Awesome.
is growing. The fulfillment is an area which is growing very fast.
Cool. Great. Well, go-to company for any printing has been one of those issues that that we dealt with, like personally, for lots of our European and United States-based customers for years now. I mean, even when I started in the e-com, was like not that many years ago, but like 10 years ago, like there were so many different like drop shippers who wanted to print on demand off of any like service-based companies like Go Custom. Let's talk a little bit more about the government to business relationship and how the policies can affect the businesses. And for anyone who doesn't know, there were some changes in the UK policy that significantly increased cost, particularly affecting low-skilled wage rates, which directly impacts Go Custom since you guys employ substantial amount of low-skilled labor for manufacturing, fulfillment services and operations. So when things like this happen.
So in, I think it was now 2024 when we got the new government in the UK. It was very frustrating because the government got in, they were promised that they were going to change everything, and they promised us that they were all they were pro-business and they wanted to grow the economy, which sound logical. And then I think at the end of October, we had a budget from the Ministry of Finance, if you like, what's
Uh-huh.
called the Chancellor of Exchequer, and she put
Uh-huh.
up a national insurance cost, which is the cost that the employer has to pay for each individual employee, significantly, and also increased the minimum wage. And by increasing the minimum wage, you also, obviously, we have no employees who are actually on the minimum wage, but a lot of them are close to the minimum wage. And so if the minimum wage
Hmm.
goes up, then they expect also their salaries to be increased as well. And that put enormous strain on us as a company. It put enormous strain on the whole economy, and particularly the hospitality sector. Bars, restaurants, whatever, where they're employing a
Yeah.
lot of young people uh, on low wages, and that's a big market really for the personalised garment industry as well. So all that coming together with the uncertainty of what was put out there by the government, because they kept putting ideas out and then they sort of retracted them, and that put a big stop on the economy, and that certainly was very damaging to us.
Where do you feel the most pressure? Was it production, fulfillment, or logistics?
I I think there was two
Departments wise.
areas. One was certainly production.
Hmm.
It's become so expensive now to find to pay for low skilled labour. I think in 10 years the minimum wage in the UK has gone up something like 77%, which is um, which is a massive increase for a company like ours that's got to swallow that cost basically.
Hmm.
In the logistics, prices have obviously gone up, but I think they've been driven up more by other inflationary costs, energy costs,
Hmm.
oil costs, whatever.
And now it's even bigger. Okay.
And now it's obviously booming again. Yeah,
And how do you protect the margins in such a labor-heavy business
it's
when
it's a
things
it's
like
a
this
struggle.
happen?
It is a struggle because obviously we're in a very competitive market, and particularly in the last 18 months, the um, the economy has not grown really in any shape or form, and we've noticed that all our customers are coming back to us and they're asking us to reduce prices, and so it's extremely difficult to reduce those margins, to maintain margins, sorry, particularly when all our
Hmm.
suppliers are also putting up our prices significantly.
Okay.
It's been a real struggle, and I think our industry is going through some tough times.
Indeed. Yeah. I mean, that's generally for lots of different businesses, and this is the response that strategically can be given is automation. And as far as I know, you guys are heavy on automation, and that you will have to go through the automation process in the coming years to be able to compete, right, long term. Um, so it's critical. What does that actually look like for Go Custom to automate the business?
Um, I think whether we like it or not, everyone talks these days about AI, and AI is obviously coming down the track, and it is going to have a massive impact on us as an industry, as it is on all industries and sectors. AI and the whole IT sphere will obviously influence significantly um, office-based workers, and the automation is going to influence
Hmm.
the fact, let's say, our production processes. I think that as a company, we're looking to continue to grow and to grow aggressively without taking on any extra labour. That's our first objective. Certainly, that will occur with our office-based workers by them becoming much more efficient by getting, let's say, AI to help us processing orders so that any order that we take is being processed automatically, having less direct contact with customers. I guess we'll be using more AI chat bots and stuff like that, which have improved significantly in the last 4 or 5 years. I think
Hmm.
also the fact that as our customer becomes, um, let's say, our customer is being born at a later date, obviously by logical, natural logic, then they are much more au fait with the IT sphere.
Yeah,
They
for sure.
are actually happy to speak to an AI and would almost expect to an AI chatbot rather than want to speak to somebody, a physical person, which is where we have come from. We still are at the moment. We liked because we've always focused on customer service. We've
Hmm.
still tried to maintain that quality of service in our office. But I can see that over the time, the next few years, that will diminish so that more and more of our customers will probably expect to speak to an AI and find a solution via AI. In the factory,
Of
in our process, on our production processes, obviously automation is going to play a significant role. We will only be able to survive in a business if in our market, which is very very competitive, if we employ, or we certainly do not employ any more low skilled labour.
I mean, indeed, this is why there are so many different AI-based startups at different conferences. Like even myself, I was in Paris last year in September on a retail conference. There were so many startups that are AI related, robotics, fulfillment, logistics, productions, like different um, like automation based businesses for the warehouses for their logistics. So it's kind of like it is definitely a tendency these years, and the same happens to me this year in Abu Dhabi at the conference. A lot about AI automations at warehouses, etc., etc. So big brands are already after it. So um, if
We've
you want to survive, indeed,
Yeah, and
you have to follow the trend.
I think what's slightly frightening is the speed of change. It's not the change; it's the speed of change that's coming. I think that is what makes people tremble in their boots a little bit. But we've already, obviously, there's automation already in the screen printing industry about taking off at the end of a dryer. That's already coming in. And I saw a video on Monday night of a robot that can actually pick a garment up and fold it. And
Yeah.
that's in its early stages, but that is certainly coming. Um, and that will transform our industry.
And I saw these startups a lot in Paris. I mean, it was like a very big conference, as I said. Right, there were already brands that implemented and introduced their MVPs for these kind of like things where the robots come, they have the directions, the diagonals, and they just go to the specific shelf, pick up the product, the garment, whatever that is, and then put it in the box, go to the tray, put it in a tray. It goes to the front desk, and then the front desk basically prints the label, and then they send it,
Correct.
fulfill it to the customer. So
Correct.
these things, they already exist. It's just like right now it's in the MVP, but then so long as they keep getting some investments into the businesses for the research, etc., etc., so they will eventually get to the final point where this will be a ready-to-go solution for all of the warehouses. And then, indeed, it's one of those things. So an eventual goal, correct me if I'm wrong, but scalability is what the eventual goal for these automations, because if you do not automate, scalability will be limited
Correct,
because
correct,
you'll,
totally. Yeah, I mean, as a
yeah,
company, we're sort of considering opening up a unit in on the European continent, and obviously one of our objectives would be that we'd start, and it's a nice place to be at, but you start from a clean white piece of paper, and you can say, hold on, where would what if we had a factory and we built it today, what would we like it to look like? And you can start from that. The problem
hmm
is that I think 95% of businesses are coming with a whole lot of legacy behind it, where we're not working in a square box. We're all got old buildings that we're operating in. We've got a lot of history, a lot of old machines and methods and processes that are difficult to adapt to where
Hmm.
we've got to get to. And that's going to be a
Hmm.
massive challenge for us all. But if you can start with an
Yeah.
absolute, you say, hold on, here's a big warehouse and it's a square box, go and put in there what you want, then obviously that's a very nice place to start from. But as I said, it's difficult for most companies to start from that place.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk a little bit more about print on demand. Why do you think more brands are outsourcing fulfillment instead of handling it themselves these days?
I think it's becoming a specialist area where you need to have the right high level printer to be able to do obviously direct to garment printing. Again, you need to be efficient. You need to have perhaps automatic packing lines, dispatch areas, and I think companies are realizing that more people are now going into the print on demand or the fulfillment area that really have nothing to do with it. So
Hmm.
um, if you've got somebody who's got a big license for Star Wars or something, they don't want to be a printer. They don't need to be a printer. They can concentrate on perhaps they're a marketing company. That is their competitive advantage. That's where they need to
Hmm.
concentrate on. That's not our
Hmm.
competitive. Our competitive is to offer a service to those people and those customers. So I think that's where everybody, and obviously you've got the smaller, um, the influencers and people like that who are now on TikTok and whatever, and it's very easy for them to set up their own website, and they need somebody to fulfill those orders. So obviously
Yeah.
that is a big growth area as well. So there's a whole load of people who are trying to get into the market, concentrating on selling rather really. They're at the bottom end of the funnel, but they need or at the top end of the funnel, sorry, and they need people like us to actually fulfill those orders for them.
How do you help them scale though?
We
Like
help them
what kind of
scale
like
by
benefits you have?
sorry, by
What benefits do you have for them? Just so the audience, like whoever is a
the
drop shipper
benefits
right
that
now,
we
maybe
have is
they'll want to reach
if
out.
you set up a website and you sell 1,000 t-shirts in a day, you will struggle
Hmm.
to get those out if you're doing them from your bedroom. You've got a great website, you've got a fantastic social media following. You manage to sell 1,000 t-shirts a day. Okay, they're all sold, but how are you actually going to get those t-shirts to your customers? You can't do it. You've
Hmm.
got no machinery. You've got no capacity to do it. We, on the other hand, we can receive all those orders and we could process those and get them dispatched within a day, so that you
Cool.
can then concentrate on actually getting the next day's 1,000 orders in, or concentrating on the following week or whatever. So we would be concentrating on what we know how to do. We've got the scalability, we've got the scale for you, and you don't need to
Hmm.
worry about it.
Gotcha. Given that you've dealt with many like startup businesses, clothing brands, etc., what mistakes do you see them making when starting their own merch line?
We get inundated by people who call us up and they say they want to be the next Nike. And it's very frustrating because then you say, okay, and what are you thinking of selling? They haven't actually thought about it. I think the real thing that they all need to do, somebody who's going to do it, they need to sit down at classic business school speak, but they need to actually come up with a proper business plan. Who are they trying to sell to? What are they trying to sell? Why are they different to
Hmm.
everybody else? And the people I think that are successful are the people that actually get their heads around the actual detail of what they're trying to do.
Okay, interesting. Um, let's talk a little bit more about your culture. I did like your post that you left on LinkedIn or somewhere there was, where you said how important it is to wear branded merch line as like for you, for your employees, colleagues, contractors, whoever they are. Why do you believe branded clothing has such a strong impact on company culture?
I guess the start. Obviously, there's the obvious one, which is you're marketing who you are. You're a walking advert for everybody who can see you with that clothing. But I think more importantly than that is it gives a sense of cohesion and a sense of the the group of employees of that company actually um, they work together. They're a team, and I think
Hmm.
that's really important and is always underestimated.
Hmm. Yeah. What separates a great branded apparel from just another logo t-shirt?
Sorry, I didn't quite hear you there, Jack.
What separates a great branded apparel from just another logo t-shirt?
I think to start with, you need to concentrate on too, too many times people perceive workwear as just a cost, where it's not just a
Hmm.
cost, it's more than that. And people, I think companies should invest in it and should see it as an
Hmm.
investment on which they'll get a return. They need their workforce to be proud to wear that. They need them to be comfortable to wear it. And they need them almost to
Hmm.
want to wear it so that they can identify
Hmm.
themselves and feel as part of the team. So I would say the first thing is that they need to concentrate on getting good quality garments
Hmm.
which actually fit the purpose and the requirement.
Cool. Do you recall any examples where merch actually transformed brand's visibility?
Oh, that's a difficult question.
Let's see if you remember.
um, we well, we have done some apparel into a major network of car parts and whatever, and I think they had several offices dotted around the UK, and I think it was really important for them to actually feel that they all belonged to one entity.
Hmm.
That certainly worked very well. You could walk into any of their factories or any of their sites, and you knew immediately who was one of the employees and who wasn't.
Hmm. Okay, interesting. Good, good call. Because I'm like the reason for me to make a decision to add this section to our podcast was that I'm a big fan of this, and then right after this call, I'll share this podcast with my partner who is a little against the apparel and how effective it can be like for the brand's visibility and from the brand's identity in general and the brand awareness. That he's got to listen to someone else, just not just me, because
We'll,
it's a day to
we
day.
look forward to receiving an order from him.
Absolutely. Well, from me for him, right? Uh, uh, Angus, where do you see this the customer apparel industry heading?
Where do I see it heading? I
Yeah.
Over the last few years, and particularly with the arrival of e-commerce and everything, there has been where before we would be happy to deal with a customer who wanted a few garments. Now it's become, I just want one garment, and we always say that to everybody. We'll deal with you even if you want one garment or if you want 10,000. It doesn't matter. You're just as important to us because that one garment might then grow into something else. Um, and I think that the future of the industry is going to concentrate much more on the smaller numbers, on the smaller quantities of orders, because the personalisation that's now available to everybody is going to continue to grow.
Hmm. Cool. Angus, you've already navigated one generational transition in your business. What have you learned about running a family business?
Running a family business it has its downsides, but it also has its upsides. My
Okay.
business partner was my brother-in-law, and he has since retired. But we have his two eldest sons are in the business already. They
Uh-huh.
were able to work for 5 or 6 years outside the business to gain another vision, to gain more skills, and they have now come
Hmm.
into the business. And so we feel that basically we have done the transition from one generation to the other, and that's a massive challenge for any family business. Uh, it does mean when you have a family business, as I think everybody who's involved in one will admit, that when you sit round the table, whether it's at Christmas, whether it's at Easter or whenever, you invariably can't stop talking about business, which is horrible. But that's what happens, and that's also what's good about it because everyone ends up being passionate, and in some ways it's a way of life that's difficult to leave. But I would certainly recommend it, but one has to be careful and has to know when to leave family to the side as well.
Well, prepare your wives as well, that there will be lots of
Definitely, definitely.
conversations about the business during the dinner, breakfast, etc. Because like our business is all about family business, like from the outset. So we were friends with my partner. Like it's been like 15 years now that we are friends. And we started the business. It was all about like our surroundings. Like my wife worked the first hire to our business. Like she dispatched as soon as she gave the birth. But then in general, like my partner's sister is there. My two of the other childhood kind of like friendship in a way friends, they are all in the business. So we've have like out of almost 100 people, there are maybe like 15 that are at the
Linked to it. Yeah,
at the foundation. Yeah, like who we built this business with from the very beginning, and they are still with us. So it's kind of like
that's wonderful.
it's hard. It's like it's hard. I hear where you're coming from. It's hard, but you have to balance it, right? So
Correct.
you have to be mindful of people who are next to you, because it's not always helpful to talk business, right? So sometimes you have to have some rest, and then your home is where you usually like get distracted from work. You gotta talk about something else because you have to refresh, right? So just because your mind has to be fresh for the next day, and it's much easier to do it at home. So yeah, I hear you. And the last question, Angus, what advice would you give someone trying to build a company that lasts 25 plus years?
I think if anybody's starting from scratch, the most for me the most important thing, as I think any business owner would say, and which is probably not driven into anybody early enough, is it's all about cash flow. It's the one thing that I think every business director or owner has to have in mind the whole time. And I think probably too many people who start off in business are not aware of how quickly the money goes out and how slowly it comes in. Um, but one has to, apart from that, one has to find where you're going to be competitive and what is going to
Hmm.
differentiate you from everybody else. What is going to be your competitive advantage? Why do customers need to use your products or services over anybody else's? And if you can answer that clearly, then you should have a successful business.
Cool, Angus. Thank you so much. What I really liked about this conversation and appreciate it is to get the perspective of someone who has built and evolved the business over the decades. It would be wonderful to see how automation and fulfillment services basically reshape the industry over the next years or like 10 years. Thank you for your perspective, Angus. Thank you for sharing how the industry works. Interesting to see how the print on demand and fulfillment part of the business is going to evolve. For anyone who wants to reach out to Angus for his services, I'll leave all of the links down below to his LinkedIn, to their website. And Angus, thank you so much again for joining the show.
My pleasure, Jack. Anytime. Thank you.